Hello, I am not at school today, so I am going over some quadratic equations with you before you take a quiz today. So go ahead and get your calculator out, and if you are in Algebra 2, make sure that you have set your mode. Okay, your mode needs to be set to A plus BI mode so that you can use your calculator. And then both groups, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, should go to your table settings. So you're going to go to your, you're going to go second window. And then you're going to change your table. You want that to count by 0.5s. Okay, or 1/2. All right. So let's go over a couple of things before your quiz. So here's how these are going to be worded. What are the solutions of x squared plus 8x equals 20? Okay, well the first step you want to do is go ahead and get one side equal to 0. So let's go ahead and subtract 20 from both sides. We're going to end up with x squared, and then we have plus 8x minus 20 is equal to 0. Now, you have three different options. First option is to put it into your calculator. Y equals x squared plus 8x minus 20. And you can look for the graph and see what it looks like. So your graph, once you hit graph, should probably look like, I'm going to guess it's going to be a 10 and a 2 of some sort. All right, so I think it's going to be over at -10. You might be able to see that crossing through, and +2 is where it's going to cross. Okay, so your solutions are going to be x equals -10 and x equals 2. Now, if you don't see it on your graph, the other option is to go into your table. And you're going to look where y is equal to 0. Because you're basically looking for the x-intercepts. And at the x-intercept, y is 0. So you should find it happening at -10. And you should also find it happening at 2. All right? So the other option you have, if you decide not to do the graphing method, is to go ahead and factor. All right? So we want factors of -20. And have a sum of +8. So when we think about that, we've got a lot of choices. We've got 1 and 20, 2 and 10. 2 and 10 look like they're going to turn into an 8. Okay, so we want -2 and +10. So we've got x equal, or x minus 2 is a factor, and x plus 10 is a factor. Now the very next step you're going to make is to set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 2 equals 0, and x plus 10 equals 0. All right? And then you're just going to go x equals 2, and x equals -10, which is what we got before. All right, let's go try a different kind, because they do get a little harder. All right, what are the real roots of this? Okay. If you're in Algebra 2, you might want to factor this, but I don't want to look for factors of 130. All right, if you're in Algebra 1, you haven't learned how to do that yet. So let's start by graphing, okay? So it's already set equal to 0, so that's good. So let's go ahead and just plug it into our calculator. Y equals, you're going to have to change that A to an x, and then minus 21x, and then minus 65. Okay? Now, you're not going to be able to see your answer on your screen. So let me pull up my screen that I've got. I've got y equals over here, and I've got that same exact polynomial in there. And when I go to graph it, I cannot see the other answer. Now I can see 1. It looks like it's at about -2.5. So if I've set my table right, in fact, I need to go do mine. So second window, I need to go change this to a 0.5 or a 1 divided by 2. All right, I'm going to go now into my table and see if I can find where my y will be 0. Okay? So I think it's going to be, it looked like it was over onto the left side of my 0. So I think it's at about to negative 2.5. There's one of them, okay, but I don't have the other one. So I've got to figure out which side of my graph it's going to go on. It looks like it's going way off, if I could write on here. Okay, I know it's at negative 2.5. I'm going to guess it's going way past my window. Okay, my window stopped about right here. So it's somewhere over here. So it's probably greater than 10. So I'm going to scroll a little bit. My calculator likes to go a little bit longer than I press the button. And I'm going to wait and see if my y turns to 0 again. So I got to go past 10. Takes a little while when you're graphing and you're counting by 0.5s. Okay. It looks like that my y values are getting smaller again. So they're coming back up and getting close to 0. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I've got another one at 13. Okay. So my answers are going to be x equals negative 2.5 and x equals 13. All right. Now let's say you didn't want to do it that way. You're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You can use the quadratic formula. We only talked about it very, very, very briefly. But if you want to do the quadratic formula, you can do put A for 2, put negative 21 in for B, and put negative 65 in for C. Okay? Now, if you're in Algebra 1, I showed you how to just throw it all into your calculator at once. So we're just going to do it that way. All right, if it comes out to be a weird, crazy decimal for my Algebra 2s, this was probably not the best way to do it. So here's our quadratic formula, opposite of B, plus or minus, which means we're going to do two different things. B squared, now remember everything in the B has to be in parentheses, minus 4AC all over 2A. So let's go plug some numbers in, okay? The opposite of B is 21, and you can do this in your calculator. Just make sure that you're in alpha y equals first, okay? So that you're in a fraction, all right? So now you've got a fraction in your calculator, and now you're going to do the opposite of B is 21, and we're going to do the plus part first. And then we're going to do the square root, and then you can put in B squared. Now that's going to be a giant number. That's okay. B squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 65. That's going to make the number smaller. Okay? All over 2 times 2. All right? Once you put that in your calculator and you hit enter, you should get one of the numbers. And I'm guessing it's probably going to be the 13. So let me do some math and figure that out real quick. Okay, once I worked it all out, I did come out to get a number that was x is equal to 13. So 13 was one of my numbers. Now what I have to do is go into my calculator and let's erase, go ahead and erase our plus sign. All right, turn that into a minus, and then calculate it over again. And this is where you will get the x equals negative 2.5. So you've got both of your answers. Okay. All right, so there's one more kind that you learned for both groups. You actually learned this one too. What are the apparent zeros of the function below? Well, if I drew this one here like that, and maybe that like that, and I drew it like this, basically, tell me what the zeros are, or the solutions. So you're really just going to look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5. And then this one should be at 3. So your answers are going to be x equals negative 5 and x equals 3. All right, so that one was easy. Let's try the next one, which involves taking square roots. So what are the solutions of x squared equals 50? Well, you could graph it. You could try to graph it, x squared. You subtract 50 from both sides, all right, and you get that You're not really going to get an answer that's going to show you what you get. You're going to get like 7.9, right? Or I'm sorry, 7.1 and negative 7.1. You're going to see something. You're just not going to get a real definite answer. So what you got to do when you have this kind like this is basically see if you can just take the square root of both sides. Okay? So I'm going to take, whoops, sorry, not like that. That's not how it started. It started out like that. Okay, so when you take the square root of both sides, you're going to get x is equal to, well, again, you don't really have a square root of 50. It's going to be 7 point something. So we've got to go and figure out what goes into 50 that's a perfect square. So if you look at the board, you've got a list of perfect squares, all right? And here they are again. That's a 36, 49, 64. All right, I think 25 goes in, okay? So we're going to break this down. Square root of 25, square root of 2. All right, so now you've got x is equal to, well, what is the square root of 25? Square root of 25 is 5. All right, so you're done with that, and then you just bring down the square root of 2. You can leave your answer like that. That's the best way to leave it. Now remember, the square root of any number has a positive and a negative. So x is also equal to negative 5 square root of 2. These are both of your answers right here. All right, if you are in Algebra 1, you are ready for your quiz. If you're in Algebra 2, go on to the next page in this video. All right, so here you go for Algebra 2 students. We're going to find the roots of c squared plus 81 equals 0. All right, you could do this with the quadratic formula, but since there's no b in there, right? There's no middle term. You can take the square roots, okay? So let's move this 81 to the other side, and you're going to get c squared equals negative 81. All right, 81 we know is a perfect square. If your calculator is set right in the a plus bi mode, you're going to be able to calculate that. So once you take the square root of both sides, you're going to get c is equal to 3i. I'm sorry, not 3i. I did that the wrong way. I was thinking 9. 9i. All right? But then c is also equal to negative 9i. And that's about it, okay? All right, so on your quiz, make sure you show all your work, and I will collect it when I get done with what I'm doing today, and I will try to have grades for you by tomorrow. All right, have a great day.